Welcome again, saints. Of course, I am your dearest servant and watchman on the wall, Brother Dale, from St. Mark in Waterloo, Iowa. There's a serious subject, and it was confirmed in the spirit to me that is something that needed to be addressed with respect to church and respect to marriages and with respect to a pastor's role in someone else's marriage. I was speaking with a dear brother of mine earlier this week. And I made this, we were chopping it up about some things. I told him this, and then just yesterday, a brother called me, I hadn't heard from, a voice crying in the wilderness. A wild man called me, and we had the same conversation. He brought this thing up. Out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established, and those guys did not talk. I made this statement to my dear brother earlier in the week, the first brother I told you about. And I said to him, I said, there is never a scenario where your wife will be able to pick the phone up and call me and talk about you or complain or even express concern about what is going on between you. I made this clear, and not that his wife would anyway, because I made a statement years ago here when I began to pastor, and I told our sister, I was like, don't call me on your husband. Don't do it. Because the biblical model is for the disciple maker to disciple our men to be leaders in their home, to be priests in the home, however you want to frame that. That's the biblical model, is to build disciples, not to remove the disciple when I believe, or any church pastor believes, that they're in a place that they can't handle. No, we encourage them through those tough spots. We teach men what Jesus said about wives. Love your husbands and submitting to them, even as Sarah called Abraham Lord. But also, when we finish that biblical thought, and it says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church, even giving himself for it. So what that teaches is a relationship of serving one another and submitting to one another in a way. When we talk about that, what that means is that, brother, I'm going to disciple you, and I am going to build you biblically to a place that you can deal with these things yourself. But in turn, through the whole time, the wife and the husband are learning, being discipled, being taught, and they are growing together. There's a difference in a couple in ministry, a pastor and his wife, or somebody with apostolic gifts. I'm not saying apostles are running around apostolic gifts, and maybe his wife is a prophetess. However, about a couple coming alongside another couple and walking them through things. Because what that is, that's a form of Bible study, and sharing and witnessing is what that is. That can be justified. But what can't be justified is a wife believing that some other man has the answers and has so much authority over her husband that if he speaks a word, if she calls him with her manipulative behind, chattering to him, without him ever hearing what the husband has to say. Not that that conversation needs to be happening to begin with, because let me finish that it's okay to get involved. Again, there's a difference between coming between a couple and coming alongside them. When is it appropriate for a church leader to supersede the authority in a marriage over a wife without her husband being involved? That they're submitting to your authority, that's one thing. If we are getting along Bible studying, even one-on-one discipling, biblically studying the word to bring them closer together, disciple, that's one thing, but that's not what happens. I've been in ministry since 2000, maybe 24 years now. And what happens, especially in black churches, is we know that 78% of our congregations, and this is Pew Research, this isn't me, data, not website somebody wrote, data. 78% of the black church are women, 22% are men. So we all know that churches exist and can exist a lot because our sisters are supporting them. You depend on black men support church closing down, but 90% of them closing down, that's just how it goes. But I think at the same time, we need to be reaching out to the husband. That's my heart's desire, and that's what I'm reaching out to the man. I'm going to keep coming until you tell me basically not to, or it's apparent, as has been apparent before, you don't want me in your home. That's cool. But What happens is the Bible speaks of these sorts, talking about these sort of confused leaders. That women can pick up the phone and say, my husband's doing this, my husband's doing that. And he'll try to comfort her. He'll say, or let me talk to him. Some stuff like that. Unbiblical, demonic. The Bible speaks of those sorts. And it says and these sorts lead, 2 Timothy, lead captive, silly women laden with divers lust. I'm bringing this up today because these ignorant preachers, pastors, are damaging and destroying the marriage because this husband is seeing that this woman believes that there's another man that supersedes his authority in his own house, and that she thinks more of the preacher than she thinks of her husband. I could put the biblical apologetics case for you, but I think you all understand. The Lord has blessed me to be competent enough in his word that you know what I'm saying is biblical help. These men control your wives, you at home, most of you. And thereby they're controlling your home and they control your finances. Take your home back from men who are not coming alongside you, but is getting in between your marriage. I can't tell you how to do that, but you need to turn to the Lord, you repent, and you need to have those hard conversations in your home. Finish with this. One of these men said this, that his job was to get his money out of their bank accounts. Talking about women. It's his job. His money, their money. The second thing is, I am not here to say that all church leaders are to say taking sexual advantage of other men's wives. That's not what I'm saying. Because it's not true. You know, this thing of money hungry, sex-starved black preachers, that's just not true. I mean, in general, it's just not true. But they've captured their spirits and their hearts. And the question becomes, what are you going to do about it? They know I'm telling the truth. I went to a service and I walked in and I had a covered cup of coffee, from Quick Start. This is how bad it is. The usher in this church, you can't have drinks in the sanctuary. I said, oh man, sorry, here you go, cool. Yeah, man, yeah. If that's the rules of the house, that's the rule of the house. You can't have drinks in the sanctuary. Look up to the pulpit and I didn't say, Watchman Pastor Dale, I'm a preacher, I can have water. Because if I'd have told him that, he'd have ran away, scurried away like a roach with the light on. Didn't do that, didn't have to. Look to the pulpit, every one of them drinking cold water. One woman brought that church leader an open glass of ice water. I called Usher back over. I said, but you told me we can't have drinks in the sanctuary. They have drinks up there. He said, oh, it's different, they're clergy. And I said, so you can't have a drink, they can have a drink? You okay with that, brother? And he went like, it was one of them looks like, man, no, but that's how it is. This is what you need to know. And it's this simple. In situations like that, a wife can bring a pastor, somebody like me. That don't go on here. Anybody drink water, lemonade, they can drink whatever they want up in here. I started that from day one. I don't play that game. I'm not going to sit there, sip on water and eat lemon heads and tell you that you need to suffer through. That's hypocrisy. O thou man of God, judgest another and doest the same thing. How will you escape the damnation of God? So this is how bad it is. This is how they captured your wife's spirit and her heart. Your wife can bring another man a glass of water in a church. You thirsty? Baby, I need some water. You can't get none because you ain't no pastor, you ain't no preacher, because he means more than you do in that situation. He's more valuable than you. Not that that's biblical. Your wife can't even get you a glass of water in a church sanctuary, and she can bring another man a glass of water because he's superior to you. He's getting in the middle of your marriage, not coming along beside you. Brothers, come on now. Stop complaining about what's going on in the church and be the men God has called you to be. Get up off your lazy behinds and take your home back spiritually. There's a way to do that, but you got to be discipled, and you need to be under a real leader that's always going to come to you, and you invite your family into those conversations. Don't no woman invite no other man into your house. What, now he can come up in your house and can he tell you get up off the recliner and he sit there in your house? Give me the remote control, man. I'm in charge up here. He might as well, because he's in your wife's house already.